The rain had stopped, but Brookdale Park was drowning. Mud stretched across the pathways like wet cement, thick and dark and hungry. Lena Harper sat frozen in her wheelchair, staring down at the wheels buried axle-deep in the muck. She was 12 years old, soaked to the bone, and completely alone. She'd called for help 3 times already. Her nanny, Miss Bradley, stood 50 feet away under the pavilion, phone pressed to her ear, back turned like Lena didn't exist. Lena tried again, louder this time, desperation cracking her voice. Miss Bradley glanced over her shoulder, saw Lena struggling, and turned away. "Just a kid looking for attention," she'd say later. Always so dramatic. A jogger passed by, earbuds in, eyes forward. A businessman in a suit saw her and walked faster. A couple with matching jackets looked, whispered something, and chose a different path. Lena pushed against the wheels until her palms burned, until tears blurred her vision. The mud held her like it wanted to keep her forever. That's when Marcus Webb appeared at the edge of the park. 15 years old, work uniform wrinkled from a double shift, grocery bag hanging from his wrist. He was so tired his bones ached, so hungry the world felt thin. All he wanted was to get home, sit down, close his eyes for 5 minutes. Then he saw her, a girl in a wheelchair, stuck crying, and everyone walking past like she was invisible. Marcus didn't think. He dropped his bag and ran. His feet hit the pavement hard, splashing through puddles. Mud sprang up his legs. He reached Lena in seconds, dropping to his knees in front of the wheelchair, not caring that the mud soaked through his pants instantly. "Hey," he said, breathing hard. "I got you." Lena looked up at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. "You came," she whispered. Marcus grabbed the wheelchair frame and pulled. Nothing. The mud had created a vacuum seal around the wheels, sucking them deeper with every movement. He tried rocking it back and forth, tried digging around the wheels with his bare hands. The mud was cold and thick, coating his fingers, his uniform, everything. He looked around for something to use as leverage. A thick branch lay nearby, half buried in a puddle. He wedged it under the front wheel and pushed down with all his weight. The wood groaned, bent, then snapped in half. Marcus stumbled but caught himself. "Damn it!" he muttered. "It's okay," Lena said softly. "You tried." Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. She was shivering, covered in mud, resigned to being left behind. Something in her eyes reminded him of himself every time the world told him he didn't matter. "No," he said firmly. "It's not okay." He crouched in front of her, hands hovering near her arms. "I'm going to pick you up, carry you to dry ground. Is that okay?" Lena stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. "On 3, Marcus said. 1, 2, hey, what the hell are you doing?" A man in an expensive suit was striding toward them, face twisted with alarm. "Get away from her. Do you know who she is?" Marcus straightened slightly, but kept his position. "She's stuck. I'm helping her. Her father is Richard Harper, the billionaire. You touch her, and you'll have a lawsuit so fast your head will spin." Marcus looked down at Lena, who was trembling now, whether from cold or fear, he couldn't tell. "She's scared," Marcus said quietly. "I can't just leave her here." The man pulled out his phone, already dialing. "This is a bad idea, kid. You don't want to get involved with people like that." "Too late," Marcus said. "I'm already involved." He slid his arms under Lena's legs and back, lifting her gently. She wrapped her arms around his neck, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. The mud sucked at Marcus's feet as he straightened. Each step was a battle, the ground, trying to pull him down. The rain started again, light at first, then harder. Cold drops hammered his face, his neck soaking through what was left of his dry clothes. The world slowed to just this: the weight of the girl in his arms, the burning in his muscles, the mud trying to claim them both. Lena's grip tightened around his neck. "Thank you," she whispered against his shoulder. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Her voice broke on the last word, dissolving into quiet sobs. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. "You're okay," he murmured. "I got you, I promise." He stepped onto solid pavement finally, legs shaking. His uniform was ruined, his only good pair of shoes caked in mud. But Lena was safe. He carried her to a stone bench under an oak tree and gently set her down. She didn't let go immediately, still clinging to him like she was afraid he'd disappear. A car screeched to a stop at the park entrance. A man burst out, tall and expensive-looking, moving with the kind of fury that comes from fear. Richard Harper, Lena's father. He saw Marcus kneeling next to Lena, saw his daughter crying, and his face went red with rage. "Get away from her," Richard roared, crossing the distance in seconds. He grabbed Marcus by the shoulder and yanked him backward. "What did you do to her? Who the hell are you, Dad?" "Wait," Lena started. "Did he hurt you?" Richard demanded, eyes locked on Marcus. "Tell me the truth." "He saved me," Lena screamed. The words echoed across the empty park. Richard froze, hand still gripping Marcus's shoulder. "Everyone just walked by," Lena continued, her voice raw. "I called for Miss Bradley, and she ignored me. I asked strangers, and they pretended I didn't exist. I was stuck and scared, and no one cared. No one except him." Richard's hand slowly released Marcus's shoulder. He looked at his daughter, really looked at her, mud-covered, shivering, tears streaming down her face. Then he looked at Marcus, work uniform soaked through, shoes destroyed, breathing hard from exertion. A kid who'd ruined everything he was wearing to help a stranger. Richard's voice came out rough. He looked back toward the pavilion where Miss Bradley now stood frozen, phone clutched in her hand. "Where were you?" Miss Bradley's face went pale. "Mr. Harper, I can explain." "You were on the phone," Lena said quietly. "I called for you, and you said I was being dramatic, that I needed to learn independence." Richard's jaw clenched so tight Marcus heard his teeth grind. "You said that to my daughter while she was trapped." Miss Bradley opened her mouth, but no words came out. "You're fired," Richard said, voice cold as winter. "Security will escort you off the property tonight. We'll discuss your severance later. Leave now." Miss Bradley turned and walked away quickly, heels clicking on the pavement. Richard knelt in front of Lena, bringing himself to her eye level. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I wasn't here. I should have been here." Lena's chin trembled. "You're never here, Dad." The words hit Richard like a physical blow. He looked at Marcus, who was standing awkwardly to the side, not sure if he should leave or stay. "What's your name?" Richard asked. "Marcus, sir. Marcus Webb." Richard stood and extended his hand. "Thank you for helping my daughter, Marcus. I'm sorry for how I reacted." "You didn't know what was happening," Marcus said, shaking his hand. "Any father would have done the same." Richard's driver had retrieved Lena's wheelchair from the mud and brought it over. Richard carefully lifted Lena into it, his movements gentle and deliberate. "Let me take you home, Marcus," he said. "Please, it's the least I can do." Marcus hesitated. "I live on the east side. It's pretty far." "I don't care if you live on the moon," Richard said. "You're soaked, you're covered in mud, and you just saved my daughter. Get in the car." The Mercedes smelled like leather and money. Marcus tried not to touch anything, too aware of the mud coating his clothes. Lena sat next to him in the back seat and immediately grabbed his hand. She didn't let go the entire drive. Richard watched them in the rearview mirror, something shifting in his expression. "Tell me what happened," Richard said quietly. "All of it." Marcus told the story simply, without embellishment. How he'd seen Lena stuck, how he'd tried to free the chair, how he'd finally just picked her up and carried her. He left out the part about everyone walking past, but Lena didn't. She told her father everything. The jogger who'd looked right through her, the businessman who'd walked faster, the couple who'd chosen a different path, and Miss Bradley, who'd stood 50 feet away and done nothing while Lena cried for help. "I thought I didn't matter," Lena whispered. "I thought maybe I deserved to be left there." Richard's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "You matter more than anything in this world. I know I haven't shown you that lately. I know I've been absent, buried in work, trying to build something for your future. But what's the point of building a future if I'm not in it with you?" He looked at her in the mirror. "That changes now, I promise." They pulled up in front of Marcus's building, 4 stories of worn brick, peeling paint, rust-stained fire escapes. The contrast to Brookdale Park couldn't have been starker. Marcus reached for the door handle. "Thank you for the ride, Mr. Harper." "Wait," Richard said. He pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card. "My personal number, if you ever need anything, a job, help with school, anything at all, you call me. Understand?" Marcus took the card slowly. "I didn't help Lena for a reward, sir." "I know," Richard said. "That's exactly why I'm offering." Lena tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "Will I see you again?" Marcus looked at this girl who'd been abandoned by everyone, who'd held on to him like he was her only hope. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think you will." Lena smiled, a real smile that transformed her entire face. Marcus squeezed her hand once more, then climbed out of the car. He stood on the sidewalk, business card in hand, and watched the Mercedes pull away. Lena pressed her palm against the window, waving until they disappeared around the corner. Marcus's grandmother, Gloria, was waiting when he climbed the stairs to their 3rd-floor apartment. "Lord have mercy," she said when she saw him. "What happened to you, baby?" Marcus looked down at himself, covered head to toe in mud, uniform ruined. "Long story, Graham. You get in that shower right now before you catch your death," Gloria said, but her eyes were warm with concern. "I'll heat up some soup." Under the hot water, Marcus finally let himself process what had happened. He'd ruined his work uniform, destroyed his only good shoes, and probably wouldn't get his security deposit back on either. But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was Lena's face. The fear in her eyes when everyone walked past, the disbelief when he stopped, the way she'd held on to him like he was saving her life. Maybe he had been not from the mud, but from something worse. From believing she didn't matter, from learning that the world would abandon her when she needed help most. Marcus had shown her something different, that someone would come, that she was worth getting dirty for. 3 days passed. Marcus went back to work, took the manager's lecture about the ruined uniform, picked up extra shifts to replace what he'd lost. He thought about Lena constantly, but didn't call the number on Richard Harper's card. It felt too much like asking for payment. Then, on Thursday evening, someone knocked on their apartment door. Marcus answered and froze. Richard Harper stood in the hallway, looking completely out of place in his tailored suit. Behind him was Lena in her wheelchair, face bright with excitement. "Hi," Lena said, grinning. Marcus stared. "What are you? How did you still had your address from the ride home?" Richard said. He looked uncomfortable, hands in his pockets. Lena's been asking about you nonstop. She wanted to thank you properly. Marcus stepped aside. Come in, I guess. Gloria appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her eyes went wide when she saw their visitors. Oh my, baby who? Graham, this is Mr. Harper and his daughter Lena from the park. Gloria's expression shifted immediately to understanding. She moved forward and took Lena's hands in hers, kneeling down with effort. Sweet girl, my grandson told me what happened. I'm so glad he was there to help. Me too, Lena said softly. He saved me. He's a good boy, Gloria said, squeezing Lena's hands. Always has been. She straightened up with a small grunt of pain. I'm sorry for the state of things. We weren't expecting company. Please don't apologize, Richard said quickly. We're the ones who showed up unannounced. Gloria gestured to their worn couch. Sit, sit, Marcus. Get our guests some water. Marcus filled 2 glasses from the tap, hyper-aware of how long it took, how weak the water pressure was, how everything in this apartment screamed poverty. When he brought the glasses back, Richard and Lena had settled on the couch, looking around with curious but not judgmental eyes. Mr. Harper wanted to thank you properly, Lena said, her voice eager. Marcus sat down slowly. You already did, by driving me home. That wasn't enough, Richard said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Inside is a check to cover your grandmother's medical bills and a college scholarship. Full tuition to any school you're accepted to. The room went silent. Marcus stared at the envelope like it might explode. I can't accept that. Why not? Because I didn't help Lena for money. Marcus's voice was steady but firm. I helped her because she needed help. That's it. I know that, Richard said. That's exactly why I'm offering. It doesn't feel right, Marcus said. Graham, I'm not taking payment for doing the right thing. That's not who we are. Gloria looked at him for a long moment, her eyes soft with pride and something else. Sadness, maybe. Baby, she said gently. Come here. Marcus moved to sit next to his grandmother. Gloria took his hands in hers, weathered and trembling slightly. Pride is important, she said. It's what keeps us standing when the world tries to knock us down. But there's another kind of pride that refuses help even when it's desperately needed. That kind of pride, baby, that's just fear dressed up as strength. Graham, hush now. Let me finish. Gloria looked at Richard, then back at Marcus. This man is offering help because he's grateful. That's good. That's right. But you won't take it because you think accepting makes your kindness worth less, like helping someone is only valuable if you suffer for it afterward. Marcus's throat tightened, but refusing kindness, refusing love, that hurts everyone, Gloria continued. It hurts me because I can't get the treatment I need. It hurts you because you can't go to college. It hurts Mr. Harper because he can't express his gratitude. And it hurts that little girl because you're teaching her that helping people should cost you everything. Marcus looked at Lena, who was watching him with those wide, hopeful eyes. Refusing help is just another way of being alone, Gloria said softly. And baby, we've been alone long enough, don't you think? Marcus felt the wall inside him crack. He looked at his grandmother, at the exhaustion carved into her face, the way she struggled just to sit upright. She was right. His pride was costing them both. Okay, Marcus said quietly. But one condition. Richard nodded. Name it. I still work. I don't want a handout. I want to earn my way. What if I offered you a job? Richard said. After school, 3 days a week. You can learn the business, work in whatever department interests you. Minimum wage to start, but room to grow. Marcus looked at Gloria. She nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "Okay," Marcus said. "Deal." He took the envelope. Richard extended his hand, and they shook. A real handshake this time that meant something. Lena was practically bouncing in her wheelchair. "Does this mean I'll see you more?" "I guess it does," Marcus said, and couldn't help smiling. In the quiet drizzle of the park, Marcus and Lena sat side by side, their hands linked, watching the rain soften the world around them. It struck Marcus how something as simple as a muddy path had rewritten both their futures. Years ago, that mud had been a moment of fear, loneliness, and pain. But now, it stood as the place where their lives had begun again, where two broken worlds collided and formed something whole. They had grown, healed, and built a family bound not by blood, but by choice. A father who learned to stay, a grandmother who learned to rest, a sister who learned her voice, and a boy who learned he mattered. Everything they had accomplished wheeled beyond MIT. The shelter cards tucked in Lena's bag had grown from one decision to stop, to care, to run toward someone instead of away. The rain fell softly, almost blessing them, reminding them how far they had come. Marcus looked at Lena and felt a quiet certainty settle in his chest. They weren't just survivors, they were builders of hope.